here from Cosmopolitan Cornbread. Yesterday was a lousy day as far as weather goes. It pretty much rained off and on all day long, so I didn't do any of the work on my project that I'm working on outside. Instead, I came in the house and was doing some work in here. This is my spare room. It's where I have the babies. As you can see, they're getting a little exercise in there. So I came in here yesterday and I was doing some cleaning, some reorganizing, sorting things around, moving things around, and in the process I opened a box of family memorabilia and kind of went through there. It was full of old photos and baby books and things like that, and I came across this. This is a letter from my Grandma Ingalls. What's very significant about this is, first of all, it's the last letter that she ever wrote to me. If you look at the paper, you'll see that all of the text kind of goes off to the right-hand side. She had several strokes, and at the time she wrote me this letter, she was living in kind of like an assisted living home. She had her own bedroom and her own furniture and everything, but she had people to help take care of her. And it was a very difficult thing for her because my grandmother was very independent. She was a very young widow and lived by herself. She never remarried, but she gardened and mowed her property, and she kind of took care of everything all by herself. So it was always a little bittersweet when I got a letter from her, because usually there was something heartbreaking in there, like I can't wait till I have my own garden again, or things like that, because she'd had strokes and she couldn't comprehend that she wouldn't be able to live by herself again. But what I loved about this letter is what she was writing to me about. At the time that she wrote this to me, we were living in North Carolina, and we had rented a beautiful farmhouse. It had been built in 1910. It was on about 60 acres, and it was country living. And we knew at that point when we lived there that someday down the road, when retirement from the military came, that was the kind of lifestyle we were going to want. And so for the first time we had, egg-laying chickens and everything, and so my grandmother was very excited about that. And I had sent her some photos of the chickens and everything, and she wrote me this letter, and I wanted to share it with you. And bear with me because her handwriting got very bad there at the end, and so I'll have to kind of decipher some of this. Dear Connie, Jeff, and all, I'm so glad to hear from you, and I like the new pet chickens. I think the one is a rooster, and I think they are Plymouth Rocks. If you see the rooster on top of a chicken, he's a rooster, and it will make the eggs so that you can have baby chicks from the eggs. I'm sure those hens will get clucking and stays on the nest and hatch them. It takes 21 days for hatching. Don't wash the eggs. The hens will make a noise like a cluck and a sigh when she's ready to set. Keep gathering the eggs after you know he's a rooster, so they don't get babies in eggs you eat. If you know someone who has ducks or geese eggs, she'll sit on them too. Offer to bring the eggs where you see ducks and geese, and there's a drake, and see if your friend would like them. It takes 21 days for all eggs to hatch, ducks and geese. So you like country living, me too. When you have geese, they sell for pretty good money. Course you have to dress and pluck feathers off to cook, and pull out the insides and wash. Ha, that's Jeff's job. Ha ha. So you have a lot of storms out there. What kind of heat for winter do you have? Cook stove old-fashioned? I would like that. We haven't had any bad storms this summer. Excuse my writing. Hope you can read. Love, Grandma Stella. P.S. Do you homeschool the boys? That was around the time I had started homeschooling. At first we homeschooled Jennifer and then the boys as well. You can see why that letter means so much to me. Like I've said in some of my previous videos, I didn't grow up in the country. But when I went to visit my grandma, I always loved it because she did live out in the country and her neighbors were farmers. And so it was always a joy to me when we went there. And when I was very little, I do remember going to my great-grandmother's house, and I have a picture of her kitchen here. And some of the memories that I have of this place were my great-aunt Sarah, my grandmother's sister, taking me out into the barn to collect eggs. And I remember being afraid to reach under the hen to take her eggs because I was afraid she'd be mad at me and peck me. And I remember seeing like a little kiddie pool full of baby chicks and just going nuts over them. You know, I just have a few memories of that. So my grandmother grew up on a farm and giving me words of advice for our first chickens and everything. It was very heartwarming. We didn't end up having a rooster at that time, but we did have Plymouth Barred Rock chickens. If I remember correctly, my great-grandmother died when I was around 2 or 3 years old. I'd have to go back and look at my records to see exactly when it was, but I know I was very young when she passed away. I wish my grandmother, my Grandma Ingalls, would have lived long enough to see our place here and see what we're doing now, and I know she would have loved it. So you can imagine this letter means a lot to me, not only for the content of what she was writing about, but also that it was the very last letter she wrote to me because she passed away shortly after. I thought you might enjoy that as much as I did coming across it. I'd kind of forgotten all about this letter. So right now I'm going to wrap this up and head out to get back to work. It looks like the rain is going away and I've got construction to do. I think I will be sharing what my secret project is in my next video, so we'll just have to see.